So you say you hear me, but are you really listening?
Welcome. My name is Debbie Russi, and I'm a Human Resource Coordinator with the A&I Human Resources Office.
And I'm Anna Hutchinson, a Human Resource Coordinator with A&I Human Resource Office also.
Let's start things off by doing a self-assessment. Then we'll talk about what is listening, primary elements of communication, the model of listening, principles of communication, types of listening, a few things to remember.
So let's take a self-assessment on how well you think you listen. I want you to answer the following questions with, I almost always do this, I sometimes do this, or I almost never do this. I adapt my listening skills to fit different requirements of a listening situation. I use feedback effectively to promote honest and direct communication from others. I screen out noise and outside distractions to better focus on speakers. I am a critical listener, able to discern assertions from facts. I listen empathetically, enabling others to express their emotions in a non-threatening atmosphere.
Are you listening?
So what is listening? And what's the difference between hearing and listening? Hearing is sensing with our ears the words that are being spoken. Listening involves our other senses to help us understand the words being spoken.
When we hear, we do it using our auditory system. When we listen, we involve our auditory system plus our cognitive functions, like paying attention, remembering, thinking, and reasoning. One hears words in a message. One listens to the words in a message and any other cues that complement the message. One hears voices and sounds. One listens to the messages.
So listening goes beyond hearing the words.
Listening means thinking about the message to understand it clearly and completely. To listen is to hear the words, notice the tone of voice, sense the mood, and observe any other cues that complement the message. So what is listening? Listening is getting it.
What is the importance of listening? When we don't listen, the speaker may feel invalidated and frustrated. The speaker may conclude that we don't care or that we don't have the capacity to understand them. Additionally, when we don't listen, we may get the wrong message, if we get the message at all. We may interpret the message the wrong way. We may get to the wrong conclusions, we may misunderstand the speaker, and we may miss the important information.
I tried to explain, but you wouldn't listen.
Why does this matter? We may make decisions or take actions based on inaccurate information. This could be prevented by becoming a better listener and asking questions to ensure you have heard the speaker correctly.
There are 4 modes of communication: face-to-face, video, audio, and written. Face-to-face communication is the most common. This can include casual conversation between 2 or more people. This mode is the easiest communication style that everyone has experienced. It requires no extra material, making this the cheapest option for communication. It is also instant, and you get the benefit of visual cues and body gestures from the person or people to whom you are communicating. Video communication is achieved by using web cameras to connect two or more parties. This is the next best communication option after face-to-face, as you get most of the same benefits. However, there is always the possibility of bad connections and/or other technical issues that hinder the communication.
Audio is a voice-only form of communication, such as a conversation on a telephone. This is a good instant communication tool if you catch the person instead of getting voicemail. But it does not have the benefit of allowing you to see the other person. It is also more difficult to include more than two parties. Written communication includes internet communication, such as email, instant messaging, and forums, text messaging, and printed papers. Written communication does not have the benefits of audio and video, but it is much easier to distribute information to a large group of people and save records of that communication.
The 7 major elements of the communication process are sender, ideas, encoding, the communication channel, receiver, decoding, and feedback. Communication may be defined as a process concerning exchange of facts or ideas between persons holding different positions in an organization to achieve mutual harmony. Communication process, as such, must be considered a continuous and dynamic interaction, both affecting and being affected by many variables.
Sender, the person who intends to convey the message with the intention of passing information and ideas to others, is known as sender or communicator. Ideas, this is the subject matter of the communication. This may be an opinion, attitude, feelings, views, orders, or suggestions. Encoding. Our memory has the ability to encode, to store and recall information. Encoding refers to the initial experience of perceiving and learning information. Communication channel. The person who is interested in communicating has to choose the channel for sending the required information or ideas. The information may be relayed in an email, meeting, a video, or text message. Receiver. Receiver is the person who receives the message. It is the receiver who tries to understand the message in the best possible manner to achieve the desired objectives. Decoding. The person who receives the message or symbol from the communicator tries to convert the message in such a way so that he may extract its meaning to his complete understanding. Feedback. Feedback is the process of ensuring that the receiver has received the message and understood in the same sense as the sender meant it.
Communication. On communication, use the telephone. When you entertain a nation, it's a microphone. The decision can be made on that dictaphone. That's communication.
There is a 4-phase model of listening. Sensing. Sensing is the intentional focus on hearing a speaker's message. This happens when we filter out other sources so that we can isolate the message and avoid the confusing mixture of incoming stimuli. At this stage, we are still only hearing the message by the ear because it is the primary tool involved with this stage of the listening process. Interpreting. In interpreting, we attempt to learn the meaning of the message, which is not always easy. Even when we have understood the words in a message, because of the differences in our backgrounds and experience, we sometimes make the mistake of attaching our own meanings to the words of others.
For example, say we have made plans with our friends to see the latest movie, but we arrive and no one else shows up. Eventually, we find out that your friends are at a different theater all the way across town where the same movie is playing. Everyone else understood that the meeting place was the west side location, but you wrongly understood it was the east side location and therefore missed out on part of the fun.
Evaluating. The third stage in the listening process is evaluating. Because everyone has biases and perspectives learned from a diverse set of life experiences, evaluations of the same message can vary widely from one listener to another. Even the most open-minded listeners will have opinions, and those opinions will influence how the message is evaluated. People are more likely to evaluate a message positively if the speaker speaks clearly, presents ideas logically, and gives reasons to support the points made. Unfortunately, personal opinions sometimes result in prejudiced evaluations. Good listeners have learned to refrain from making judgments and instead focus on the speaker's meanings. Responding. Responding is sometimes referred to as feedback. It is the final stage of the listening process. It's the stage at which you indicate your involvement. Almost anything you do at this stage can be interpreted as feedback.
For example, you are giving positive feedback to your presenter after a presentation at the end, and you stay behind to finish a sentence in your notes or approach the presenter to ask for clarification. The opposite kind of feedback is given by attendees who gather their belongings and rush out the door as soon as the presentation is over.
This stage is represented by the verbal and/or nonverbal listener. Be polite in your responses. Common gestures of kindness do go a long way. Verbal communication occurs in meetings when attendees share their ideas.
An example would be at the beginning of the meeting, an organizer uses verbal communication to state the priorities of the meeting, the desired outcomes, and the amount of time allowed discussing each topic. An active listener will always ask questions about something in the conversation.
Examples of nonverbal communication could be developing eye contact with a smile or a facial expression. All of these communicate something without the use of oral or written language. Active listeners tend to lean forward to some extent to show their interest in the conversation. Even if you do not say a word, your silence can communicate in a nonverbal way. Nonverbal communication, especially body language, can send a strong message in spite of what your words say.
Even the tone of your voice, its pitch, volume, quality, and speed affects what you say.
Principles of communication. Communication is the purposeful activity of information exchange between two or more people in order to convey or receive the intended meanings through a shared system of signs and rules. The basic steps of a shared system of signs and rules are the forming of communicative intent, message composition, message encoding, transmission of signal, reception of signal, message decoding, and finally interpretation of the message by the recipient. Talking with someone in a discussion, speaking in public, reading a newspaper, watching TV, etc. are all different kinds of communication that we are engaged in every day. Is it possible to not communicate? Common usage of language contains phrases like, "She doesn't communicate with me," or "He's reserved," giving us the impression that it's possible to not communicate. In fact, it's possible for someone to not talk to another person, but it is not possible to not communicate anything at all. That's because communication does not involve just words, but it is also related to behavior. One always behaves. Even staying still is a behavior. Silence communicates. Our bodies communicate non-verbally. So long as there is life, there is communication, even if the person is intentionally trying to cease all communication.
It is impossible to control the interpretation of a message as you cannot control the other person. Communication is a two-way process of giving and receiving information through any number of channels, whether one is speaking informally to a colleague, addressing a conference or a meeting, or writing a newsletter article or formal report. The following basic principles should apply. Know your audience. Know your purpose. Know your topic. Anticipate objections. Present a well-rounded picture. Achieve credibility with your audience. Communicate a little at a time. Present information in several ways. Develop a practical, useful way to get feedback, and use multiple communication techniques.
Whenever you listen to learn something, you are engaging in informational listening. This is true in many day-to-day situations, in education and at work. When you listen to news, watch a documentary, when a friend tells you a recipe, or when you are talking through a technical problem with a computer. Although all types of listening are active, they require concentration and a conscious effort to understand. Informational listening is less active than many of the other types of listening. When we're listening to learn or being instructed, we are taking in new information and facts. We are not criticizing or analyzing. Informational listening, especially in formal settings like in work meetings or in education, is often shadowed by note-taking in a way of recording key information so that it can be reviewed later.
Critical listening is a much more active behavior than informational listening and usually involves some sort of problem solving or decision making. Critical listening is comparable to critical reading. Both involve analysis of the information being received and alignment with what we already know or believe. Whereas informational listening may be mostly concerned with receiving facts and/or new information. Critical listening is about analyzing and making a decision. When the word critical is used to describe listening, it does not necessarily mean that you are claiming that the information you are listening to is somehow faulty or flawed. Rather, critical listening means engaging in what you are listening to by asking yourself questions such as, what is the speaker trying to say? Or what is the main argument being presented? How does what I'm hearing differ from my beliefs, knowledge, or opinion? Critical listening is, therefore, fundamental to true learning.
There are many decisions throughout the day that we don't even think about, and then other decisions we have to research before we make a final decision. Our opinions, values, and beliefs are based on our ability to process information and formulate our own feelings about the world around us, as well as weigh up the pros and cons to make an informed decision. It is often important when listening critically to have an open mind and not be biased by stereotypes or preconceived ideas. By doing this, you will become a better listener and broaden your knowledge and perception of other people and your relationships.
Empathetic listening involves attempting to understand the feelings and emotions of the speaker, to put yourself in the speaker's shoes, and share their thoughts. Empathy is a way of deeply connecting with another person. However, empathetic listening can be particularly challenging. Empathy is not the same as sympathy. Empathy involves more than being compassionate or feeling sorry for somebody else. It involves a deeper connection, a realization and understanding of another person's point of view. This type of listening does not involve making judgments or offering advice, but gently encouraging the speaker to explain and elaborate on their feelings and emotions. Skills such as clarification and reflection are often used to avoid misunderstandings. Like saying, "When you said this, what did you mean?"
Why would somebody want another to elaborate on feelings and emotions? It lets the speaker know, I understand your problem and how you feel about it. I am interested in what you are saying, and I am not judging you. The listener unmistakably conveys this message through words and nonverbal behaviors, including body language. In doing so, the listener encourages the speaker to fully express her or himself free of interruption, criticism, or being told what to do. It is neither advisable nor needed to agree with the speaker, even when asked to do so. It is usually sufficient to let the speaker know, I understand you, and I am interested in being a resource to help you resolve this problem. Say things like, tell me more, to encourage the speaker. This shows them that you are interested, you value them, and that you are not passing judgment or offering advice unless they ask.
Relationship listening is one of the most important skills to have when dealing with people. Relationship listening is also known as empathetic listening. You would use relationship listening to help a friend through a problem, solve a conflict between coworkers, or prompt people to open up through support and honesty. This is where the relationship, working or friendship, is more important than wanting to be right.
As a communicator, you should know which type of listening is used in every situation, as well as how to use those skills to your advantage. Here are some other types of listening. Appreciative listening is exactly what the name implies, listening to enjoy the story, music, or information you hear. The American Society for Training and Development recommends that to truly embark in appreciative listening, you should avoid engaging in other communication and focus solely on sounds or words.
Discriminative listening is listening in order to distinguish sounds in the environment and speech sounds. This is the most basic form of listening and does not involve the understanding or the meaning of words or phrases, but merely the different sounds that are produced. For example, a distinction is made between the sounds of the voices of parents. The voice of the father sounds different to that of the mother. This works best in person, as you can look to body language, tone changes, and volume to determine what the speaker really thinks and feels. However, these days we're not often face-to-face with clients or customers. We need to adapt to become better online discriminative listeners as we engage more and more via texts, Facebook comments, and snappy tweets.
Interactive listening means attentive listening, where you listen well and concentrate on what is being said without falling out of touch with the speaker, therefore being able to respond efficiently.
So, how do you demonstrate interactive listening? First of all, show interest. Limit your input to statements and questions that will evoke more information about the subject, repetition of information already given, or clarification of material. Next, listen to learn, not to win. Avoid debating with the speaker and don't be confrontational. Third, paraphrase. Repeat the question as you heard it, just to clarify. Paraphrasing accomplishes several goals. First, you demonstrate your active interest in the speaker. You guard against the development of any serious misunderstandings. You increase the quality of the communication by showing the speaker what information is getting across to you and what is not. Paraphrasing can also assist in assuring both parties understand the message, even though a sender cannot control what the receiver understands. By paraphrasing or reframing back, it can help eliminate misunderstandings. Ask questions. You ask questions in order to, 1. Seek information. Curiosity-based questions will be non-threatening and open, like, what happened next? You ask questions to check an interpretation. Questions meant to check an interpretation are usually closed and should always be non-threatening. An example would be, so what you're saying is this. Questions can be used to clarify something. Questions seeking clarification should be non-threatening to seek feedback as to the accuracy of your understanding. Like, what did you mean when you said that?
Communication is
is the only way. Start saying what you mean to say. All your troubles are gonna run away. Start saying what you mean to say.
You should remember that critical listening is an essential skill. Remember to begin by envisioning the most productive outcome, the best decision based on the best evidence. In adjusting your critical listening, focus on the following guidelines. Keep an open mind, seek to understand, avoid filtering out difficult messages, recognize your own biases, use critical listening when you need to make evaluation and judgment, analyze the audience and adapt the message to the listener, ask questions until you are satisfied you understand the message. The listener is a partner in the process of communication. Feedback can enhance the quality of interaction. Paraphrase to check your level of understanding. Ask questions to invoke more information. Different situations call for different types of listening. Different types of listening demand different skills. The key to effective listening is to identify your primary goals and then to apply the appropriate techniques and skills to reach your goals.
Thank you for listening to this training on listening skills. We hope you've picked up a couple tidbits that'll help you down the road and that you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Debbie Russey at 307-777-6737 or debbie.russey@wyo.gov. Here's a list of the wonderful music used in this training.